hot here. I'm all sweaty and gross. Hello. Now I'm on YouTube. Okay, I'm on YouTube and Facebook now. So, okay. Yesterday was a really big live, and I did it at a weird time. I did it at noon, my Pacific time here. So, oh, sugar in my hair. Yeah, I might try that again. It was a really big one. Sorry about this. Drives me nuts. Look at this. Oh, this freaking hair, sticking hair is driving me nuts. Okay. Curly hair problems because it's very humid and I'm all crooked here. Sorry. Anyway, while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. What part of the world are you in? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. And where are you from? Sorry. Where? Maine. Hi, Maine. I actually know where that is. I looked it up because I know I was always, every time someone would say they were from Maine, I'd go, gee, I don't even know where that is. I kept guessing wrong. Okay, so, sorry. God, I'm such a mess today. Okay, you don't care how I look. You're just here for the parenting stuff. So what do I care? Anyway, okay, I'm just going to let it go. So let me see now. We've only got Denmark. Hello, Denmark. My son was there. He told us, he was telling me that everyone rides bikes over there. And he said that they have this one hill and they call it the hill and everyone has a hard time getting up the hill. He says, I don't even think a marble would roll down the hill. It was he said you couldn't even call it a slant. And everyone called it the hill. And here in Vancouver, we have like mountains, right? So we're used to riding up and down mountains. Brisbane, Australia. Hi, Brisbane. That's where my kids were raised, in Arana Hills. Okay, Florida, West Central. Don't exactly know where that West Central is. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. I'll do my best to answer them as we go along. If you are new, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above or in my description in YouTube, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. So let's get going. It's really hot here today. I'm all sweaty and gross, so sorry about that. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. Toronto, Alabama. Hello. I have a 5-year-old. She has tended to cry to get her way or when being given constructive feedback. She seems so sensitive despite us not giving in just because she is crying. What is constructive feedback? I would like to know. What's your name? Kimberly. 5-year-old. She cries. She doesn't get her way. Well, it means it must work. They only do what works past the age of 4. So crying, there must be a payoff for it. You must give into it. But then why does she seem so sensitive to what constructive feedback are you giving? I remember once someone said to me, oh, it was such an insult. It was so awful. They say, I'm just trying to give you some constructive feedback, but I don't think blue suits you. Or I was wearing something blue. I don't remember what it was, but it was such a passive aggressive. But and then I love it when they say, don't take offense or don't get upset. So an insult is coming. But yeah, they called it constructive feedback. Because I said, we were out somewhere. I said, what am I supposed to do? Go home and change? I had no option. I was stuck in this ugly blue that evidently looked horrible on me. But yeah, what do you mean by constructive feedback? I'm very curious. I need an example of that. I'm looking for your answer here, by the way. Like, hey, there's another way to handle this. Instead of freaking out and crying, start by, instead of freaking out and crying. Can you imagine if someone said that to you if you were upset about something? There's a better way to handle this instead of freaking out and crying. I'd walk away from you. Just think about it. It's kind of snotty. Yeah, I wouldn't talk like that to anybody, let alone a kid. How would you feel if you were upset about something? There's a better way to handle this instead of freaking out and crying. See what I mean? It's kind of nasty. Think about that. How would you feel? Okay. Yeah, you've probably left by now. That's okay. I got to say what I got to say. Like trying to teach or model alternative. I'm going back to what you said. Yeah. Yeah. Just like I said, how would you feel? Okay. Oh, you're still here. Oh. Some people go, F you, and they just take off. I got to say what I'm thinking. So yeah, I am here to help you, believe it or not. Can you please elaborate on how to discipline special needs or foster kids with trauma? Does this work the same way? Not always, no. We often have to, yeah, okay. I can't answer that. That would be coaching because I need background. There's no general answer to that, by the way. What special needs are they? What kind of trauma was it? Was it sexual abuse, being hit? Was it just being abandoned? Not just being abandoned, but was it, I can't answer that. It's different advice for each of those situations. Okay, sorry, YouTube. I know I'm never looking at you on YouTube, but it's because I'm looking at my social media. That's my big audience. So yeah. Okay. Well, if she starts by crying, how would you respond? Say, well, let's figure this out. What can I do to help? I might say something like that. What can I do to help? Let's figure this out. Like a team, let's figure this out together. And if she's not getting her own way, I don't quite understand. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah. I'll be honest, that might not even be the boot camp course. You might want to look into coaching if it's a real problem, because I would have to figure that out. Kids who cry. Okay. Kids who are highly emotional and highly sensitive, often it comes from the parents, something that you're doing. That you're just not aware of, because if they have a leader at home, they're not sensitive outside in the world or anything. Like, not if you're really good leaders and they feel safe with you and they feel confident and proud of themselves when they're with you and they like themselves when they're with you, they don't tend to cry very often. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah. Anyway, look into coaching if you're really interested. I might be able to help you. Okay, how to make your 2-year-old to stop screaming and crying all the time when they want everything. That's a general question, and I'm just going to read out my general 5 tips for parenting toddlers, okay? You don't actually stop a child. We're never fixing kids here. We're teaching parents, okay? So this is my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, that's a 1 and a 2-year-old, is you do so in their world. You don't go to the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They look at you differently when you get good at that. Number 4 is when you want to discipline a toddler, a 1 and a 2-year-old, it's consistent corrective actions. It's not words. All these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions, it's absolute garbage. That's for the parent. It's not for the child at all. Toddlers don't react to that. Okay, and you got to be consistent though, consistent corrective actions. Now, number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got 1 marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there, okay? Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years. In the first year, you were a potato laying on a mattress. They're just forming. I always call them crazy, but it's more that they just haven't developed sanity yet. And that frontal lobe is evidently where the impulse control sits, and that's just starting. That's just a little feather right now. So the impulse control is very difficult for them, okay, at the age of 3. Okay, so you got what do I do about my 2-year-old digging in his diaper? You're just going to have to put something on him that he just can't get into and watch him like a hawk. You can't stop that stuff. Like if he's got that in his head that he wants to paint with poop or something like that, yeah, you just got to get something on him. There evidently are things that you can buy, like a vest or something that's Velcroed at the back and they can't get into. So I would look into that, yeah. My 3-year-old ignores me when I tell him something, and any discipline is met with laughing. That's just a tell. It means he doesn't respect you one little bit. Work on your leadership skills so that doesn't happen. That's just a tell. You got to earn that respect. You got to work for it, okay? It's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. He's laughing at you because you're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills. Check out my boot camp course. That might be a good fit for you, okay? It's all about your leadership. It's not about kids. It's about you. I teach parenting. I don't teach kidding, toddlering, teenagering. I teach parenting. So you lead, they will follow. I've worked with hundreds of kids and I managed to get respect with all of them. Was it them or was it me? Did I just get them all on the good day? I never worked with an easy kid, by the way. Did I just get them on? Was I just lucky? No, I was a leader. So, and they do respect that. And it's more about connecting than correcting. When my 4-year-old is mad, this is YouTube. When my 4-year-old is mad for a legitimate reason, like younger sibling knocked over their awesome Lego build, the 4-year-old wants to kick and maybe throw the Lego. Frustration is valid, but what do I tell her instead of, okay, you got to deal with that. You got You got to discipline the ones who did that to her. She's the victim here. The only reason that she gets mad and lashes out at her younger siblings is because she knows you don't know how to deal with it. That's why. Do you know the only reason siblings fight is a feeling of injustice and a lack of leadership. If they know they have parents who know how to take care of business, they don't lash out at each other. They go to you and they say, look, this is what happened. They just do. Once they trust you that you're a leader and you know how to take care of business and look after things, they don't fight. Why would they? No reason. So yeah. I don't tend to punish the retaliator, certainly not the first time. I punish the instigator, not the retaliator, not the first time. I say, in future, you come to me. Okay. I started working with some of your techniques with my grandson, and unfortunately, he has just been diagnosed with, oh, it's a long one. Okay. I didn't realize it was so long. With autism. Oh, I don't discuss autism on here. That's only for coaching because it's a specialty and each child is unique. Some things work with some autistic children that don't work at all with other ones. So I would have to assess what's worked in the past and what hasn't worked. So then we can move forward. Okay, I'm just skipping ahead to make sure you're here when I answer. Yesterday was a huge live on all of my platforms. I did it at noon. Today it's 4:30 for me now. So it was 4 hours earlier or 4.5 hours earlier. I don't know why. It was just huge. I don't know why that was. Anyway, maybe I might switch the time up. It's not the best time for me this time of night. But yeah, I might do one of these. Would that suit you better if I did one a few hours earlier? So let's say Tuesday I did the same time. And then Thursday I did one like a few hours earlier. This is my full-time job, so I can do it anytime I want. Okay. Okay. Just found your channel. So far, I agree with everything you say. That's no one else ever does. I have a 3.5-year-old and timeouts don't seem to work anymore. Well, I never would tell you to do a timeout. I hate timeout. I can't stand it. I think it's humiliating and mean. So that's not my method. I can't comment on that. Yeah, I would never teach timeout. I can't stand it. Do you have any advice for a 19-year-old off the rails? I do specialize in teenagers, but it usually stops at 18 years old. The only exceptions, and by the way, that would be coaching. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know the situation, right? I need a lot of history. I need a lot of information. The only reason I would agree to take someone on if they've got a 19-year-old is if they're still living with you and they're basically financially dependent upon you. Because you need leverage. 9:45 a.m. in Australia. Yeah, I lived in Australia for about 20 years. So, what do you do if they do not do the consequence, like cleaning the window and continue to jump on the couch? Have you looked up the behavior board? Because there's another consequence. If they won't do the positive action consequence, you resort to the negative deprivation. You take something away. Okay, I wish you were around so accessible well, I wasn't as accessible, but I've been around for about 20 years. So teaching this when I was a young parent, but as a grandparent, sorry, I lost it. Sorry. But as a grandma, your techniques work. Yeah. I mean, I don't teach grandparenting. I'm a grandmother and yeah, I don't teach grandparenting. That's a different thing because they're not your kids, right? Like I would never tell my kids how to parent. It's none of my business. And I would never, that's insulting because it's like, if I give advice, it's saying you're not good at that. That's basically what you're doing. This unsolicited advice, a lot of people tend to do that and they hide behind good intentions. There's no good intentions behind unsolicited advice. None. When to transition toddler into a bed from a cot? When they flop out of the cot. You must be in Australia, cot. That's where I raised my kids. All my baby terms are all Australian. Yeah, as soon as my kids flopped out on, and then they were like a fish on the floor, that's when I dismantled the cot and I just put the cot mattress down and put pillows all around it and sort of like a little, they were in there. So, and if taking away media blackout doesn't work, then what do you resort to? If they're still doing the negative behavior, even though they've got media blackout, you just say, that's why you've got media blackout. There's not much you can do. Okay, because they're already being punished. So yeah, you just have to go through it. What about whining when they have to clean up? Age 6, who cares? So I could care less if they're mopping and whining at the same time, as long as they're mopping. Like, what difference does it make? It must bother you. So that's why they do it. Yeah. They only do what works, and it must bother you. This is from Axon Fleet on YouTube. I'm prone to being a permissive parent. Thank you for your content as it's helped strengthen my leadership skills a ton. That's good. Leadership is love. Leadership is kindness. Children feel a lot safer and they have a lot more pride and they like themselves more when you're a good leader. They just do. It brings out the best in them and they like themselves when they're with you. Therefore, they want to please you. And when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. You want to pass the leadership role over to them. With the smaller stuff, especially. You're still there for the big stuff with teenagers. But yeah, leadership is so important. They need that. They need, crave, and want a leader. Do you know every single troubled teen I've ever worked with has said to me, I wish my parents had been tougher on me growing up. Not now, but they equate discipline with love. Like respectful discipline, not hitting and all that stuff and yelling. But do you see what I mean? They want it. They need it. They crave it. If you're not a leader for your children at home and you send them off to school without any leadership at home, they are going to be very vulnerable and very susceptible to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to go searching out leadership elsewhere. You don't want that. I don't know what we're doing wrong. We follow your guidelines and ignore the tantrum and play big during the rainbows. Okay. Our son is 4 and just out of control, rage around the house. Even if we're doing something fun, he's yelling at us to stop trying to have fun. I don't know what's going on there. Have you got the boot camp course? Yeah, you just might need some more information. This is all just general, it's not the depth information. It's just sort of the surface stuff. So the boot camp course delves deeper. Coaching delves even deeper. So yeah, they're missing something or you're doing something wrong. I don't know what. Oftentimes parents will do the boot camp course, and it's still good for reference material to have, but then they'll hire me for coaching on the side and there's something else going on they just weren't aware of, and I'll pick up on it pretty quick usually. So I'll say, that's why it's not working. So I don't know, but check out the boot camp course. That's more, this is all just general surface advice. It might work to a certain level, but if you're really struggling, you want to check out the boot camp course or even further coaching. Because sometimes parents will hire me and they'll say, this is what's happening because of this and that. And I'll go, no. From what the kid is doing and saying, that's not why they're doing and saying it. So I have to dig into stuff sometimes. It's probably my favorite part of my job. I'm going to buy your course. Excellent. I hope you enjoy it. Hope it works for you. And it's really good for reference material down the road. It does not expire, by the way. I get that a lot. I think because you're ticking off as you're completing units as you go along, and then you don't get access to it or you don't think you do. I don't quite know what happens there. But yeah, it doesn't expire. I always say none of my courses expire unless I do. So yeah, and even then, probably my daughter sort of runs all this. So. Okay, Kimberly. I'm going to try and really think about this. Let's try this again. I'm with you. We do validate her feelings. I never said to do that. Connect with her. Yes, you do that. It's not like I'm not saying you don't validate feelings, but I didn't say that. Okay. It's not like we immediately say, don't cry, but whether we give in or don't, it does seem to be her go-to strategy of not getting her way. So do we need to be more consistent, like never give in? Also, is there a way to reward talking to us first or some other strategy versus crying? No, you don't reward for good behavior. It mixes them up. What are you doing? Punishing bad behavior, then rewarding for good behavior? Which is which? Are you overlapping them? You never reward. Don't use a reward chart. Connecting with them, playing with them, spending time with them is the reward. Okay? The connection is the reward. Or would that be a bad message that somehow crying is bad? I guess I just want her to learn other ways to express upset, getting what she wants, etc. Lastly, what were you saying? We somehow made her sensitive. Thanks. I don't know. I don't know. I could give you a general answer, but you know why I don't want to? Because you're so conscientious. I don't want to jump to conclusions. And I really don't have a gut reaction at this point because now you've given me more information. The more information I get from someone, the more questions I have. So yeah, you might want to just check out the boot camp course. It sets you up as a leader, tends to calm them down. The more emotional the child is, the more they need leadership generally. It makes them feel safe. It calms them down. Generally, that's the way it works. Okay, so check out the boot camp course. It's in the link above. That's my signature course, 3 to 12 years old. So you're right. It's a good age right now at 5. I get the feeling you're overthinking things. Just play with her more. Their love language is play. Play with her more. Be goofy. And don't leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. If you're having fun with her, don't talk about, no, you weren't crying then. That was really good. See, it's patronizing. So yeah, I think you're overthinking it. Just play with her. Have fun with her. Connect with her. Have fun. Laugh. That might build her up a little bit. I don't know. That's my gut reaction. Okay. Ooh. I'm very aware of my time. So I'm often running late for that. I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all of my lives are saved. But I hop from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. So yeah, while I'm on YouTube the whole time. Okay. That's so kind of you. Yeah, I always feel like I'm being mean, but you know what I'm doing, and when I'm just being really honest, is I'm here to help you. I'm not here to be popular or nice. I want you to enjoy parenting. I want you to raise happy kids, and I want you to be happy too. I don't just want you to raise nice kids. I want you to enjoy parenting. I want you to have fun. I loved it. It was the most fun I ever had. Me and the kids laughed all the time. I remember the school moms used to say, all we see is your blue RAV4 driving by with you and your kids, and you're all like this. You know that cartoon where the head would separate when they were laughing? They said, you just have fun with your kids, don't you? And I said, yeah, because I got all that pesky respect done, when they were little, and then we just sailed right through the teen years. So yeah, I want you to have fun. I want you to enjoy parenting. That's why, everyone says, oh, grandparents, it's the best thing in the world because you get to hand them back. That's nowhere near as good. I'm a grandmother. I have to hand her back. I'd rather keep her, but she's not mine. So being a grandmother is nowhere near as fun as being a parent. I got to keep those. I got to keep them. I don't like handing her back. She's adorable. Boot camp it is, yeah. I hope it helps. And it's good reference material down the road too, because it goes up to 12 years old. So, okay, how do I connect with my older kids when I have a newborn, a toddler, and needs my attention more right now? Okay, that is my least favorite question. I've got a newborn and a toddler. They're both so physically demanding. There's not much I can tell you. Just survive. Nap when you can. Don't worry about the housework. Don't worry about how you look. It's just physically demanding. I can't really offer a lot of information. I can't. You see where my hands are tied. Yeah, it's just so physically demanding. It's temporary though. You'll be past it soon. They'll be playing together, fighting and all, so. Oh, what are your thoughts of a reward star chart for good behavior? No. I would never have a reward chart for good behavior. Not at home. It works at school, very different. I have a lot of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. What they do in their business, and that's business, right? It's not personal. What they do there works beautifully. It doesn't always transfer over at home. And in classrooms, reward charts for good behavior are beautiful. They're not personal because there's 30 kids there, and school is a business. At home, it's personal. Do you know what a reward chart, the message you're sending to your kids? You're normally rotten. If you should happen to be good, you'll get a star. You see the message? To me, good behavior is my baseline. That's just my basic expectation. I just expect that. I wouldn't reward. I don't get rewarded for saying thank you when I'm out shopping or getting out of people's way on the crosswalk. No one's rewarding me just for being normal. To me, that's just being nice is normal. Don't treat it like it's something freakish. You see what I mean? This is that entitlement you're raising. Don't raise entitled kids. I said, please, where's my money? You see, that's such a bad message. Okay, but a behavior board says you're normally wonderful, but if you should happen to do something bad, then I know how to take care of business. I know how to deal with that, okay? So get rid of the reward charts. They're horrible, sending a horrible message. Plus, you don't want them to be rewarded just for being good. Like as if that's something, oh, I should get a trophy for being good. That entitlement, yeah, don't go down that route. Love your perspective. You know, I'm old. I'm 63 now. I've been doing this forever. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. And even back then, the daycare ladies were asking me, how do you do that? The kids want to be with you, but they listen to you. I was a leader even back then. I kind of always got this. I was very good at connecting with kids, but I don't take any crap. And kids learn that very fast. So yeah, but I like being with kids. Like when I was babysitting, I wish they'd had nanny cams. I would have got a raise. Yeah, I played with them. I bonded with kids. Well, you got a 5-year-old coming home from kindy and has started hitting himself in the face. What do? I don't know why he's doing it. I would have to assess that. You need to find the cause of that. What's causing that? By the way, I just want to mention this. I get this all the time. There's a lot of, I've got like 1.3 million followers now. There's a lot of imposters out there stealing money from parents, pretending that they're me. They use my videos, my name. They can't use my website. It's bratbusters.com. It's not .ca, not .net, and it's bratbusters.com. But if you just follow the links in any of my social media when I'm doing these lives, that is me. But there's a whole bunch of fake accounts. As soon as one is closed down, as soon as I report one, and I don't even report them anymore, but usually my followers do. So as soon as one is reported and closed down, they just open up 2 more. So there's nothing I can do about it. Just be careful with that because it kind of bothers. There's nothing I can do about it, but it just bothers me when people are getting ripped off. And how on earth they're going to coach people and turn out? I don't know. I don't know how. Like they're selling coaching. How on earth can they sell coaching if it's not me? Oh, I think one person said they were my assistant. I'm the only one that coaches. My daughter works with me, but she would never coach. Yeah, so just be careful. It bothers me that people are out there, but it's part of it, right? Do you need a license for babysitting in your time? I don't know. Do you need a license for babysitting in your time? I mean, back in the olden days when the dinosaurs were roaming, we didn't need a license. I started babysitting when I was 11. I was just old. I was born old. I was like a mini mother. Whoops, sorry. Oh, shoot, I have to go. I have to move over to Instagram now. If you want to follow me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. And I'm also on YouTube the whole time, and that's where I save all my videos. And if you go on the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. So I'm heading over to Instagram now. Happy parenting. Bye now. Okay, let me look on YouTube now. Hi. Oh, just a sec. I'm waiting for Instagram people to turn up. They turn up fast on here. Like everyone turns up in one clump. Okay, good. This is from Max and Fleet because you said, I'm prone to being permissive parent. Thank you for your content as it's helped me strengthen my leadership skills a ton. I wish I'd read that before, the second part. I've noticed that my daughter's confidence has also gone up. When you're a leader, it tends to increase your children's confidence. They like themselves more and they have pride in themselves. You're bringing out the best in your children. That is the sign you're a good leader, that your kids like themselves and they have high self-esteem. That's what your leadership does for them, okay? It's about how they feel about themselves, not you. In turn, they end up looking up to you too, like a mentor. But your goal is that your children have high self-esteem and they like themselves. They can't like themselves if they're being rude and snotty and nasty. You know what I mean? So yeah, you bring out the best in them. Okay. How do you potty train 2.5-year-olds? I have a whole course on that called my Potty Party. I do recommend 2.5 for the age. Anything younger, they're more inclined to have setbacks and have more accidents. And I just didn't want to go through that. So I waited till they were 2.5. My son was trained in 1 day. My daughter was trained in 2. And no pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. But it's a whole system. If you're interested, the course is linked up above. It's a whole system. A new father. Well, welcome and congratulations. My son just had a little girl 6 months ago. Cute as a button. They all are, though. Babies are so cute. Do you know what I love is how they've got this giant head and this tiny little shoulders. And when you see them from the back, they're just like little potatoes. I just think they're so cute. Okay. Oh, sorry. I wanted to finish reading some of the YouTube comments here. Okay. This is an easy one. This is from Victoria. My 3.5-year-old said a bad word in daycare today. How do I teach her that's not okay? She said stupid. Okay. So you get the behavior board. It's completely free in my description on YouTube or in my bio here in, where am I? Instagram. Anyway, you look up the behavior board and you put down no bad words, no name calling or no bad words. And then if you find out she said either at school, then there's a consequence. Check it out. It's free. The behavior board's completely free. So it'll explain how you do that. I know you don't like timeouts, but that's what I've been using for consequences before I found your course. I'm going to start the behavior board, but what do I use for consequences for everything? Everything else you completely ignore. So, or do what you were doing before. The course, all of my teaching starts with a behavior board if they're 3 and over. So you're starting with one rule. The whole idea behind this is you're learning how to lead. You're not fixing all their bad behaviors in one day. You are learning how to follow through with rules and consequences. You have one behavior board in week 1. By week 2, you'll have 2. By week 3, you'll have 3. And then you go off the behavior boards. That's in the course. Week 4 is when you go off you don't use them anymore. Like I would never use a behavior board. It's just a teaching tool. Okay. So everything else, you don't use the same consequences on that behavior board for anything else. It gets muddied up. It doesn't work. So just keep it like it's its own little entity, that behavior board, the rules and the consequences on that behavior board. And there's only one rule per person. You're on there too, by the way. So the whole idea is once you get good at this, the other bad behaviors start to drop away. You can't learn everything in one day. Everyone wants, how do I stop all the bad behavior in day 1? I would. I mean, I'd address everything in day 1, but I'm level 10 with what I teach because I invented it. You're learning how to do this. It's a teaching tool for you, not your kids. It's for you. Okay. Four-year-old not fazed by the behavior board. I don't know what you've got on there. And there's always, yeah, you might need some tweaking for the behavior board. And it might not seem like they're fazed. They might go, fine, whatever, I'll do whatever you say. But if you know that you're doing something that would upset them, they just don't want to give in and admit it, just keep following through. Say, that's fine. Say, fine, you can't get to me. I'm not trying to. Just keep following through with the behavior board. But if it is something that you noticed is weak and it's not working, then you might want to tweak it. So you'd have to hire me if you want my personal help with that. Is there anything you did as a parent that you wish you didn't do? Not really. Now, the reason is not that I thought I was perfect, but that I thought I was an okay imperfectionist. Like I didn't do anything big or bad. Do you know what I mean? I never wanted to be perfect in anything in life. I think that's ludicrous. Have you ever met anyone who tries to be perfect, all that phony, superficial crap? I never wanted to be like that. I wanted to be able to make mistakes and then say, well, that was stupid of me. Okay, sorry about that. How about I do something for you? So yeah, I think that it's okay to be imperfect. And I don't have regrets in life. I'm not kind of like that. I move forward. I'm not one to look back very often. My only regret, and I always said this, my only regret is that I didn't have more kids. But it's not even really a regret. That's the only, if I was to have one, that would be it. Yep. So I made mistakes, but none of them I go, oh, yeah. You know that? Yeah, none of them were like that. They're all human. And boy, my kids were very quick to point out when I messed up. Boy, they loved it when I messed up. As soon as they'd look at each other like this, I thought, oh, shoot, what did I do? And they'd say, Mom, you said you were going to do that and you forgot. And I'd say, oh, shoot, what do you want? We'd love to go to the water slide park tomorrow. I'd say, fine, I'll bring your suits. So yeah, they had a voice, believe me. So it's okay to mess up so long as you make amends, so long as you're accountable, just like you expect your children to be. Be accountable. What was your favorite age of parenting? Mine was teenagers for sure. Well, I don't know if it's going to keep getting better. I mean, everyone's different. I like the teenagers the best because they're the most interesting because they're the oldest, right? So, yeah. And their brains are so fresh. They're not kind of muddied up by all that life experience stuff, all the baggage that we tend to be muddied up with. They don't have that yet. They're fresh. I just found the way they thought fascinating. I loved it. And when I started my business, I specialized in teen crisis work. I love all the teenage stuff. 6-year-old having a hard time growing up. Well, he's not growing up really yet. I don't know what you mean by that. Are you feeding into that? Is he just sort of like a broken record just to get your attention and sympathy? I don't know why he's doing that. I don't hear that very often. My gut reaction is he's doing it for attention. Or there's too much homework or something, and he says, I don't like growing up because there's too much homework. I don't know. Probably doing it. My gut reaction is it's a manipulative tactic, but I could be wrong. So I've got to flip ahead because people come and go. And also I've got to check out my YouTube too. I'm getting a bigger following here on YouTube. YouTube's my smallest platform, but I'm getting more people coming in live. So I got to remember to look at YouTube. Okay. 21-month-old is hitting the dogs, playing with them by hitting them. I would not allow that. I would just physically restrain, keep them away from the dogs. If you can't keep the animals safe and unharmed, find them a new home. I am such an animal lover. I told my kids learned from basically day one, you never run past the bird cage to scare the bird, and you never pick up the dog, ever. And so they learned from a very young age. And I was watching them like a hawk. I would have intervened if they had tried that. So, keep the animals safe. They deserve that. What's a good bedtime for a 7-year-old? I don't have that answer because it's like asking me how many hours a day or should you do this or how many hours a week should they have screen time? I don't know. It's a personal choice. And every kid needs a different time. Like some kids go to bed at 7, some kids go to bed at 6, 9, depends on how many hours they need and if they still nap. Some kids nap still at that age. Okay. Is it ever okay to scare a 2-year-old by verbally saying no when they bite? Check out my Toddlers Who Bite course. I don't tend to do the scare stuff, but I do physical, you use consistent corrective actions. So it's physical. So you push them away and you say no, but you make it very clear. They're going to bite the first time. Don't let them bite again. You physically restrain them every time they go in for a bite and you say no, and then you ignore and walk away. They'll eventually learn. Anyway, check out the course. It goes into more detail. It's one of my mini toddler courses. It's all in the link above. How should I react or address my 9-year-old using manipulative language with myself and others? I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what kind of manipulation you're talking about. The only reason they're doing that is it must work. It must annoy you or they must get their own way. Okay, I need to know the age. You asked about anxiety. I don't know. Are they 2, 12? I don't know. Okay, I like your parenting style, but do you show empathy? Everyone asks me about discipline. That's a tiny part of everything I teach. I teach connecting, having fun with kids. Their love language is fun. Play with your kids. That was my power. People used to say, how do you do it? How do you get all these kids and teenagers to respect you? I use humor and fun. Humor with teenagers and fun with younger children. Fun is their love language. Be fun. Get on there, play in their world. Connect with them. That's 99.99999% of this. It's just I'm answering all these questions about discipline, and I keep forgetting to stay focused on the fact that's not what I'm all about. I'm about playing with kids, having fun with them. I have yet to meet a toddler that doesn't find this funny, and I have zero pride and dignity when it comes to kids. I will do anything to connect with a child, anything. I'll do this in public. Connect with them, have fun with them, be their friends, and connect and correct them or discipline them when they're naughty. They need that. They respect you for that. And you want them to respect themselves too. So yeah, I get caught up in this answering all this discipline. It's just what people ask me. It's in all life. In coaching, it's completely different. It's all about connecting, especially with teenagers. So yeah, it's all about connection and bonding and being fun. Fun is their love language. Find your inner child. Watch how they play and join in. That was my superpower. I was very good at playing with kids and connecting with them and being silly. Very good at arm farts too. Like, come on, find your inner silly. I remember once my kids and I were going somewhere and we used to do this stuff where it was how silly mom, the game was whoever cracked first lost. So I remember once we were going out somewhere and I turned up, my kids were a little bit older and we got in the car and I was wearing my bra on the outside of my top. So the goal was that no one could laugh or say anything about it. So just find your inner silly. That's why I had so much fun as a mom. I loved it. I'm silly by nature anyway. My love language is humor for sure. I love laughing. But yeah, find your inner silly. So it's not about discipline. It's just a tiny part of it. Do you have any courses on autism? No, and I can't see me ever doing that because it is a specialty. They're all unique and they have unique challenges. So yeah, I don't see me ever having a course on that. I was working with this one mom years ago. No, just a couple of years ago, actually. And she said, and I don't teach my style with kids because I am very silly. Like I'm very childlike in my humor. I find like if I fell down, I would think that would be unless I hurt myself, I would think that'd be the funniest thing in the world. Like I just love silly stuff. I laugh at dumb stuff. So I think that's why I relate to kids really well. But anyway, I was working with this mom. And she said, well, I've never been a fun person. She said, how do you have fun with kids if you're not a fun person? She goes, I'm very serious by nature. She goes, I don't tend to laugh. And so I said, well, everyone's got something. I said, let's find yours. And I said, what do you like to do? What do you think? Do you have a special talent, something? And she goes, well, I'm very good at telling stories. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I'm very good at telling a story and incorporating the person into the story. And I said, well, what do you mean? I said, tell me a story. And she did. She told me that we were doing a Zoom call, coaching session. And she told me a story and she incorporated me into it. And all I wanted to do was crawl under her lap. Like it was so cute. And it was just beautiful the way she did it. And I said, there you go. Do that more with your kids. That is your superpower, is telling stories and incorporating them into it. So, and then she did. And and the kids started to enjoy her more. Their behavior got better because she was connecting with them more. Their behavior is never going to get any better if you're not connected with them. Connection comes first. There's this saying, connection before correction. I don't actually like that because I don't tend to correct children. I want them to have self-discipline. But connection is first. It's the first step. And then you teach them how to be accountable by you being accountable. Okay. Ten-year-old telling white lies, not big. Okay. I would still put no lying on the behavior board. Just put no lying or no telling fibs. However, don't worry about how you word it. And just every time he does, then here's the consequence. I knew someone once who was a compulsive liar. And, they couldn't even tell the time. I didn't actually meet them. Someone told me about them. And they said they were so compulsive with lying, they literally could not tell you the right time. Like right now it's 5:15. They would have to say it's 5:16. Isn't that bizarre? They literally were incapable of telling you. Like that's extremely rare. I've only heard of one person like that, and that was years and years ago. One thing on the behavior board at a time. Yep, one per week. One rule per family member over three and over. One rule per week. That's it. You'll have enough. It'll be hard enough just doing one. The rest of the stuff, they often get worse before they get better. And when you learn how to have a consequence for that one rule, they'll usually get worse with the other stuff. That's all part of it. You got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. Everyone wants the rainbow, but you got to go through the storm first, right? And don't be afraid of the fit scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums. That's where all the lessons are. That's them saying, hey, I'm in charge, not you. And they start having a fit. That's okay. Let them have a fit. That's on them. I always say their tantrum is none of your business. You just file your nails, wait, and as soon as it's over, oh, you all done? Okay, let's go. Or let's read a book. Yeah, you're right there, but you never give any attention to a tantrum. I know I say this every day when I'm doing a live, but that kid I was warned he was a handful. He was 8 years old. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. We were introduced and I was supposed to work with him that afternoon. And he said to me in this filthy look on his face, he goes, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. He went, you could just see him going, oh, she knows what she's doing. Okay. I have zero fear of fits, scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums. That's my superpower. That's my opportunity to exercise my leadership. You think you can threaten me? Good luck to you. Go for it. I'll be filing my nails while you have a fit. You see? That manipulation doesn't work on me. So, don't be afraid of it. Walk into it. Let them have it. Everyone wants to stop that stuff. That's the lesson. The only way to stop a tantrum is to give them everything they want. And then you're going to pay for that down the road. The only time you ever give in to everything they want is when you're on a plane. Like, you do not bring a whole plane down by allowing your children to have tantrums and ignoring them. You give them whatever they want in an airplane. They get it. They know that that's not going to happen once they get off the plane. Who cares anyway? There's no way I would put a plane full of people through that. Or if they're sick, or you know what I mean? Like if they're not well, then you give them whatever they want when they're sick. What if the child physically lashes out? You just physically restrain them, but you don't talk to them or look at them. You just hold them. Hold them for a minute or two, let them go. If they come at you again or go at themselves or someone else, you physically restrain them again. 22-month-old struggles to get his hair cut. Any tips? Nope, none whatsoever. It's like doctor's appointments, shots, dentists. Once they've got it in their head that they are afraid of that, it's just going to take time. There's no easy answer around that. That you can show them, you can give them chocolate, you can show them their favorite show. If they've got it in their head, they're afraid of that, that takes priority over any bribe you could possibly give them. So yeah. I'm paying for it now. My son is 9. I need your coaching. How much is it? Check it out. It's all online up above, but you might just need the boot camp course. It goes free behavior board, boot camp course, coaching. Coaching is really personal. Yeah. Geez, it's hot here today. I'm all sweaty. Okay. Summer finally hit Vancouver. I'm just going to read out my top 3 leadership qualities. These are my top 3 leadership qualities, pretty much with all ages. Number 1 is you stay calm during the storms. So when they're all upset and screaming and that, you just stay calm. Stay calm during the storms. The second one is be crazy during the rainbows. You can be fun and crazy and wild and silly when everything's happy and it's all good. Number 3 is become a great listener, more when they're 3 and over, once they're talking. Become a great listener. You listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. Don't be the know-it-all. Don't try and solve their problems. Like my mom, she was really good at this. Whenever I'd go to her with a problem, I'd say, Mommy, what should I do? She would say the same thing. Sorry, I got a siren going by. Just a sec. I live downtown. So I'm going to start that again because my daughter pulls my videos from these lives. Anyway, hi, sweetie. Anyway, so yeah, what was I saying? Oh, become a great listener. What was I saying? I forgot. Sugar. Oh, my mom. So whenever I'd say to her, Mommy, what should I do? I've got a problem. She would always answer the same way. And I kind of was frustrated by it because I just wanted her to tell me what to do. And she would say, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And we'd talk about it. I always thought I was solving all my own problems. But really, my mom was just sort of feeding me the odd little tip here and there. But she was teaching me how to be mature, take care of myself, and how to solve my own problems, how to problem solve. So yeah, she never came across like a know-it-all. She was very wise, but she never came across as having all the answers. She said nobody does. The people who think they do are the ones who know the least. That's what I find. The people who know it all know the least amount, guaranteed. You know, the know-it-alls. We all know a bossy know-it-all, right? I don't have any in my life anymore, thank God. But we all know someone like that. They're the people that you don't listen to. Yeah, they know the least because what are they trying to prove? I remember once, this is kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. I went to this event and there was this really unassuming man in the corner of the room, an older man. He was quite a bit older and kind of dressed kind of scruffy. And everyone else it was like a business meetup thing. And this is a really good piece. I've told the story to my kids too. And there's all these people at these business meetings. They're throwing out their business cards, doing their elevator pitches. They're trying to impress. My mom used to say, no one wants to be impressed. They just want to have fun, right? So they're all trying to impress everybody. And I hate that kind of crap. Anyway, it's so boring. But I saw this man standing in the corner and he was just quietly standing there. But it was weird because there was a few people around him, but not talking to him. So I just went over and I said, hi, introduced myself. And he never said anything about himself. He just asked me questions about myself. He turns out, I won't go into it, but he was a billionaire, extremely powerful man, but very, very down to earth, smart, savvy man. He wasn't trying to impress anybody, but he was curious. He was just a very impressive human being. And turns out everyone loved him. And these were all his bodyguards that were right near him. So yeah, he was a very important man. But I was the only person who went up and talked to him. And all he did was ask questions about me. No one wants to be impressed. They just want to have fun, right? So yeah, he wasn't trying to impress anybody. But I always remembered that man. I don't know where he is now, but he was quite a bit older, so I don't know. Thanks for answering my questions, Lisa. You love your courses and parenting advice. Very helpful. Excellent. How to teach accountability. That's all I'm talking about here. How to be accountable for what you do, say, and how you act. There's too much passing the buck these days. No one wants to be accountable. It's the weirdest thing. I think it comes from the pleaser parent style, that sense of entitlement. It's never anyone's fault. Oh, why did you crash the car? Oh, well, it was raining out. It was the rain's fault. Oh, it's always everyone else's fault. Yeah. The thing is, I think that comes from also being embarrassed by making mistakes. I have no shame. I have no embarrassment when I make a mistake. That's part of being human. People who don't like to admit when they make mistakes, they're kind of, not my type. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. That's human. That's necessary to move forward. The people who are always trying to be perfect, and I always told my kids this, if you're not failing, you're never going to succeed, because that's how we learn. You got to try things and fail, get up, brush yourself off, get up and try again. That's how you succeed in life. That's how you learn. If you're always staying in your comfort zone, you're never going to change or learn or grow. Never. So I always told my kids, if you're failing, you're doing it right. Keep trying, keep trying. And I also used to tell them to have a goal. But that goal can change. But you always should have a goal in life, or several, whatever. Always have a goal that you're going towards, but it can change. As you go along in life, you go, ooh, that's different. I'm going to do that. Ooh, that's different. Like, I'll tell you, I can't say what it is, but I always thought I wanted to be on this big show, like a big, huge worldwide show. And then, the opportunity came up and I realized that I don't want to do it. So yeah, it's not my cup of tea. So isn't that funny? It was always kind of in the back of my mind that I'd want to do that. And, I know I've made it if I get on that show. So yeah, my goals have changed. I'm here for you, not to stand up on a stage and talk about myself. Do you think it's possible to grow in that confidence as a parent and as an individual in your own life? Oh gosh. I don't quite know what you mean by that, but most of what I've learned about myself and what I like about myself, I learned through children and teenagers. They taught me being humble, being grateful, and being patient. So I think I'm a better person as a result of being around so many kids and teenagers. And they were all not my own kids, but all the kids I worked with had challenges and, especially behavioral stuff. And I learned a lot through them. So I think being a parent, if you're paying attention to kids, you're going to learn more about yourself. They're going to teach you more about yourself than anyone else is. So pay attention because they're very honest. Believe me, those teenagers I worked with when I first started working with them, they went for the jugular. They're very good at finding weaknesses, like unbelievably good at it. And I thought, wow, how would they even know to say that? Wow. So I had to learn, how to not let it get to me. If you lack it internally, you know what? That's sort of a cop-out. We're all born the same way. You got to work on it. If you lack something, work on it. Teach your kids that too. So what if you're not good at that? Work on it. If it's even important to you, might not be. We don't all have to have the same skills. Finally, I'm able to watch the best parenting guide help channel in the universe. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, is that me or someone else? Okay. Have you written a book? No, my daughter said I'm not allowed to. I was going to write a book probably this summer, but she's in charge of all the business planning. So yeah, she said, not now, Mom. It's not, we're working on something else right now. So, but yeah, she does all the planning. She's actually coming to work with me full time next week. She's leaving her corporate job and working with me full time. And, but yeah, she's got all the planned, it's all planned out. So she does all that. I have zero interest in business and she loves it. She loves marketing and planning. She does all my marketing too. So yeah, I'd like to write a book one day. I don't know if we will. I don't know if we're going to do that. I think we will probably one day, but I don't know what she's got planned yet. So someone said, oh, so you're going to be working for your mom? And I would word that I'm more working for her. So it's my company, but she definitely is the planner. Yeah, I hate all that stuff. Ugh, it's exhausting, but she loves it. What do you do if your 7-year-old gets very stroppy when she doesn't get her own way and then becomes very defiant? And I think, so what? Let her have all the attitude in the world. We never address attitude. You never discuss attitude or tantrums before, during, or after, because there's no point. No point whatsoever. I don't like your attitude. Okay, fine, I'll stop it. Like, there's no point in discussing an attitude. None. So yeah, I don't address that. Just follow through with consequences and connecting with her, play with her, have fun with her. Anyway, I'm going to be going over to, where am I now? I'm on Instagram. I'm going to be going over to TikTok now. I'm on YouTube the whole time I'm doing my lives. That's where all my lives are saved. If you want to go over to TikTok, it's Bratbusters Parenting. There's a whole bunch of, I've got a lot of followers now. And of course, because of that, I've got a lot of imposters. So be careful. They're using my videos, my name, and they're stealing money from people, thinking that they're me, that they're pretending to be me. So just be careful. This is me. I'm doing a live, and so it's me on here. So just follow all the links to make sure you don't get scammed out of money from someone else. It's frustrating. Anyway, okay, I'm going over to TikTok. If you're not following me, just check out the link above if you're not going to go over there. And it's you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list for coaching. But I do, first priority is crisis, if you're in crisis, and it's not toddlers having tantrums, it's big stuff. Or if you are a past client, then you'll take priority. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and happy parenting. Bye now.
Are you filming?
Okay. It's from Victoria on YouTube. Any advice for my 3.5-year-old starting JK Junior Kindy in September? Anything I should be aware of? Okay, what I would do is whenever kids are first starting a new school is this is what I did with my kids. We packed a lunch and we went to the school ground. Like when they went to kindy, when it was all gated off, we couldn't get inside there, but we would literally sit outside on a blanket and I would point to all the kindy, like what we could see. So get them accustomed to that, and that's, make it, and then so it just sort of makes it more normalized. They're more comfortable going there if they've already been there. So for me, that's about it. Like, they're just going to have to get used to it. You can't make everything easy for your children. And I never really tried to do that with my kids. I used to tell them, there's lots of challenges in life. The more you challenge yourself, the easier it'll get to be challenged. You gotta build that. What's that called? I can't remember. I'll never remember what it's called, but it's make doing the hard things a habit. Make it like it's normal. So you don't always, I tend to live in my comfort zone. You should see my morning routine. It is rigid. It is gym. And I won't go into it, but I've got like 3 things I do every single morning. It starts with the workout gym. And I'm rigid with my morning routine. I'm actually trying to shift it and change it. But yeah, we all like routine. And that's sort of how you build up your, there's certain things that you should really work on. And I think getting a routine going is really good, and challenging yourself is really good. I'm not as good at challenging myself right now. I got to get better at that. I go through periods of life. Okay. How did you develop a well-rounded personality as a stay-at-home mom? You've got a great sense of humor. I was raised with a very funny family. So I didn't stand a chance unless I was funny. But anyway, a stay-at-home mom, I joined mom groups. I was like in 3 different mom groups, and also once my kids were up on their feet, I went to the gym every day and dropped them off at the gym daycare. They had their social stuff going, and then I socialized and met a lot. Most of my friends I met at the gym. So yeah, but I joined moms groups, and I just joined a lot. Swimming, got the kids into swimming, and I was in a new country too. I was in Australia, and so yeah, it was. And they're different socially over there. They're very reserved. It's very hard to get close to Australians at first. They're great when they're I always say they're great when they're traveling because they're all drunk. They're traveling. I love Australians, but they're hard to get close to. They're very reserved. So it took me a while, but I got in all the mums groups and everything. And I never had any North American friends for 20 years while I was there. It was all Australians, Kiwis, Pommies. So yeah, get yourself out there, throw yourself out there. And I remember a really good piece of advice. We had these neighbors, Lynn and Graham, and they lived right next door. They had older kids. And I remember one day Lynn said to me, I was just having a really bad day and we're chatting over the fence as you do. And so I'd had a really rough night. My son, he was just like about 1. And I said, oh, he was up all night. He was sick. And she goes, best thing you can do is just get your grubby clothes on and go out for a walk. And I did. Sure enough, you see all these other moms in the neighborhood looking like crap, just like you do. And then we all ended up laughing. And I just threw myself out there. That's what I did. And I never worried about stuff. Like I just got out there. I went out. What do you do with your children when you made a mistake as a parent? I made amends. I'm accountable. I do what I preach. Like they always say, you don't preach it unless you're going to do it. Like that's why the behavior board's all about accountability. That's why you're on it. I'll give you a good example of this. My son, the PlayStation first came out. He was 8 years old. It was the same year Pokemon cards came out, actually. I got a story about that too. But anyway, PlayStation first came out, and we got Crash Bandicoot. I love that game. Crash Bandicoot. Anyway, just a great game for me. And then my son we got 2 games, that, and I think we got like a racing one. My son loved it. He loved it. And he worked for weeks getting up to how you get levels, and he was so impressed. Like he worked so hard to get up to this level. So anyway, Saturday night, he goes to bed. So my husband and I are up and we're playing Crash Bandicoot. So we get to a certain level and we had like a memory card. And so I saved my level. And my husband said, you know what you just did? And I said, what? And he says, you just saved over his game. And I said, no, I didn't. And he goes, find it. We only had one memory card. And so I'm starting to sweat. Even now, my palms just got sweaty. And I'm looking for it. And I had saved over my son's game. And he'd been working for weeks on this. Anyway, I was freaking out. So anyway, went to bed Saturday night, got up Sunday morning early, having a cup of tea, oh my God, I'm going to have to tell my son I ruined his game. So anyway, I hear him stirring in the bedroom and I go in there and I say, sweetie, I kind of got some bad news. And he goes, what? And I said, I unfortunately saved over your game. I saved it on the memory card. And then he went to start crying, like instantly. He just went to start crying. And I said, but if you don't cry, I'll buy you a brand new game. And he went, oh. And so I bought him a brand new game. So, the funny part was, the irony here was when he went back on that racing game, it took him no time at all to get back up to where he was because he was good at it, right? So anyway, and then he got a brand new game out of it. Plus I had to buy another memory card and I wasn't allowed to touch the other memory card. It was banned from mom. But the joke became he kept trying to slip in his memory card when I was playing so that I'd mess up and he'd get a brand new game. So yeah, you got to be accountable. Own it. Own it. He loved it. My kids loved it when I messed up because I made it up to them. I made amends, right? So, and also whenever I'm working with parents in coaching and they've done something wrong and their kids are older, and I say, you got to apologize for that and make amends. And even with teenagers, I say, you got to make amends for that. You took their phone away for a whole month. I said, good God. I said, buy them a game, buy them something. That was terrible. So, and they go, I'm not going to buy anything. He was rotten to me. I say, so you take the high road here. I said, that was over the top. So you take, and then they get it as we go along. They get it. You got to be accountable. You lead by example. Is correcting children before just saying no explaining, even if they're over 3? If they're 3 and over, you're just using the behavior board as you're starting out. And the rule is down there, no hitting. You don't need to explain that. You say, as soon as they hit, you say, let's go to the behavior board. You hit, so here's the consequence. You don't discuss it. All these therapy sessions discussing what they did wrong, it's just a waste of time. And it's kind of berating and bullying them. It's kind of mean to keep going on about what they did wrong. They already know it. What a parent can get consequence for doing? Yelling. That's almost always the case with clients, is no yelling is their rule. Oh, or making promises they don't fulfill. You promise you're going to do something, then you don't do it. Stuff like that. Or another one is you have to play with the kids for 15 minutes every single day. Like their kid-led play, whatever they want to do. That's your rule. And if you don't do it, you have to play for 30 minutes the next day. So yeah, you got to be accountable. Am I on the right? Yeah, I'm on TikTok. Okay, good. I'm always worried I'm in the wrong place. It feels a bit odd. High Horse says. That's fine. If I'm not making any sense to you, just move on to someone else. There's tons of other people talking about parenting. So if I'm not, and I mean that, if I don't resonate with you, don't waste your time watching me. Go on to someone who does make sense to you, right? That's the way it is. Like I watch a lot of stuff that I learn from, but if someone just rubs me the wrong way or I just don't like them, it doesn't mean that they don't know what they're talking about. It just doesn't resonate with me. So I move on to someone else. Who don't I like? You know who I think's Jordan Peterson. I think he's really bright and I do watch him sometimes, but I find him kind of depressing. Like I always kind of depressed after I've watched him talk. But he's so bright that I watch him sometimes, but he's very bright, but it just depresses me. And I don't tend to like being depressed. Like I'm always trying to look for cheery stuff, but yeah. So you got to find something that resonates with you. Do 2-year-olds understand feelings? Do they have empathy? You mean? No. They get upset when you're hurt, but they don't really have empathy for it, if that makes any sense. They might even come over and say, are you okay? It's only because they're scared. Yeah, they don't tend to have empathy till they're 3 years and 9 months old. I've been saying that for 50 years, and scientists have just come out and said it's 3 years and 9 months. I was right all along for the last 50 years. That's when they have the ability to understand someone else's feelings. That's when they have the ability to start getting empathy. Doesn't mean they will, but they have the ability to really understand they're not the only ones in the world, that other people have feelings too. 3 years and 9 months. How often are you live? Pretty much every day. I've been doing these for about 2 years, every day. Not so, I'm just so busy these days. So I don't always get on here every day, but for most of the last 2 years, it's been every day. Oh, I gotta get back to basics again, because someone pointed out, they said, do you ever have empathy for kids or anything? Because all I'm ever talking about is discipline, because I'm feeding off your questions, right? I'm here, it's a Q&A. But I have to make it very clear that discipline is a very tiny part of this, very tiny. I didn't discipline my kids past the age of about 3.5. They were self-disciplining because they understood accountability. They knew right from wrong, and they understood if they I always said to my kids, if your good life is good, if your bad life ain't so good, I'll make sure of that, because I'm your mom and that's my job. Okay, that's how I always word it. And they go, I know. So they just made good choices because they knew mom would come in with a consequence. It was usually brushing my hair. They hated doing it, and I love having it done. So if they did something wrong, I'd say, get the brush, brush my hair. So yeah, it was that easy. Yeah, it's about connecting. I'm going to tell you one of my favorite stories of my mom and dad. I just told this the other day, but I love this story. It's so sweet. I was adopted, and my parents were a little bit older, so they had a lot more patience than my friends' parents did. I noticed that growing up. And I never heard them fight or yell or anything. And whenever I'd visit a friend, they never looked as cheery and happy. Like, we had a really happy household. So anyway, this was so sweet. I love my Easy Bake Oven. My mom would love baking and cooking, and we had a nook in the kitchen. So while she was baking, she would set me up with the Easy Bake Oven. I was probably about 5, I don't know, 4 or 5. So she set me up with the Easy Bake Oven, and whenever she had dough, she'd be rolling out dough, and she'd give me some, and I'd roll it out, and I'd bake it and everything. Well, of course, by the time I finished rolling everything out, it was black because my dirty kid hands. So anyway, we were both talking the whole time. I just loved it. She loved to bake, and we were chatting. And then my dad would come home and he would smell these pies. Well, mine was black and crispy, crunchy like cement, and horrendous, awful. My mom's was gorgeous and fluffy. So anyway, Dad would come in and he always went straight for, he'd say, "Oh, what smells so good?" And he'd go straight for my mom and he'd go, "Oh, Lillian, you've been baking again." And I knew what was coming. So I'd just be sitting there like this. And he'd go, "Oh, Lillian," he says, "did you bake that? Is that what smells so good?" He says, "That is the best looking pie I've ever seen." And then he said, "Can I have a taste?" And so Mom would say, "Sure." So he'd take a taste and he'd go, It's like a real show, right? So he said, "This is the best tasting pie I've ever had in my whole life. Nothing else could ever be as good." So I'd say, "Try mine now, Daddy." It was just a thing we did all the time. And mine was this horrendous, hard, rock, black. I didn't even taste it. I knew it was going to taste horrible. I would have Mom's pie. Anyway, he would pick up the pie. It was little. He'd pick it up and he'd go, "Ooh, this looks delicious." And it must have been nauseating. And he'd try and bite into it, and you could hear him crunching, and black was coming out of, ashes were coming out of his mouth. And then he'd eat it with a smile on his face, and he'd go, "Lillian, your pie was good, but I'm sorry to say, this is the best pie I've ever had in my whole life." And I was like this. How stupid was I? But it was just such a beautiful game. Like, they did stuff like that all the time. That's what parenting is. It's fun. It's just fun. So, and another thing my mother did all the time, my mom, whenever I got bored or needed something new to do, she was very good at hiding stuff away. We had this cupboard and it was up high. I couldn't see it. And I'd say, "Mommy," I said, do you have any artwork or anything?" Like, it was usually like it was never anything expensive. It was just like a new coloring book or something. And she'd say, "Well, let me go see in the cupboard." And I can remember hopping around like an idiot, waiting for this, like one of those dogs that's hyperactive. "What was it? What is it? What is it?" And I know she dragged it out and she'd go, "Now let me see. No, wait, that's not it." And I'd be dying. "Come on, mommy, hurry up." She'd take forever. Finally, she'd pull something out and it was nothing big. It was one of those plastic where you put down, you draw a picture and you lift the plastic and it's gone. But it was just the waiting for it, and it was just fun. Like, it was just a fun household. And so you want to be fun. That's what parenting's all about. Make your kids happy. But you got to deal with the bad behavior. Children who are acting out and being disrespectful have very low self-esteem because they don't feel good about themselves. Okay. It's impossible to be happy and to be mean at the same time. What to do if your kid has an annoying but harmless preference? Example, scared of a painting at grandma's. Well, just don't take them in that room. I don't know what you mean. How old are they? I don't know. I don't know what you mean. Yeah, that was a sweet story with my parents. They were very, very patient. Never heard them yell. Never heard them argue. And I remember being a young child, and I'd go to other people's houses, and there was tension, and I'd hear parents sometimes would fight, like arguing. I'd never heard that. It scared me because I'd never heard it before. So you got an 8-year-old that doesn't stop lying. Put no lying on the behavior board, and there's a consequence every time they lie. Don't go into the therapy sessions discussing it. There is no point whatsoever. Just have a consequence. It would be like a police pulling you over to discuss speeding. No, just he gives you a ticket and then says, "Okay, drive carefully, have a nice day." Consequences are what makes us learn, not discussing it. Discussing speeding doesn't stop speeding. Tickets stop speeding or slow it down anyway. Consequences are the lessons, not discussing the bad behavior. Everyone wants to discuss the bad behavior all the time. That's berating and bullying and just plain mean if you're doing that with your kids. Just say, "Well, that was bad. Here's the consequence." And don't go on about it. Everyone wants to discuss all the bad stuff their kids are doing all the time. I think it's mean. Okay. This is from Ashlyn on YouTube. I get this all the time in coaching. 3-year-old screams when it's time to leave somewhere he doesn't want to leave, playground, pool, etc. So that's the transition, leaving somewhere fun. You give them a bit of warning first. Say we're going to be leaving in 10 minutes, and then say we're going to be leaving in 5 minutes. Doesn't mean they're not going to have a fit, but it gives you a little bit more of a chance that he might not. So then, and it also gives them a little bit of a warning. And then you say 1 more minute, and then when you say, okay, time to go, pick him up, cart him out. If you keep following through and stay calm during it, chances are when he's too big to carry out, he won't be doing it anymore. Okay. Or if he doesn't, then go home and have a consequence. Say, okay, well, that you were very naughty at the pool. You were kicking and screaming and you wouldn't get in the car. So there's no screens tonight. Something like that. So there's a consequence. How to get a 3-year-old to stop telling us to shut up. You don't. You work on your leadership skills and that wouldn't happen. And besides, I would say no bad words or no name calling. I would say shut up is a bad word. Put that on the behavior board and there's a consequence. Say, oh, you said shut up. That was a bad word. Let's go to the behavior board. Okay, the consequence is this. That's it. Don't go on about it. Parents want to discuss all this bad stuff over and over and over again. It just, I don't know why. It doesn't do any good. Just have a consequence. Why do you care if your toddler is stomping their feet? Just ignore it. They're stomping their feet. They will continue to do so if it bothers you. Just ignore it. Oh, the consequence, check out the behavior board. It's completely free. It's in the link above, and it'll explain how you do consequences. Don't get caught up in what the consequence is. That's not the important thing. It's the consistency and follow through. That's the important part. Everyone says, what's a good consequence? As if that's the cure-all. It really isn't. You're sending a message. You have to do, if you do something bad and you break a rule, you have to do something good to make it up. If you won't do that, because it's always 2 consequences for the kids. The first one is a positive action. It's a good deed, like a chore. And then if they won't do that, that's fine. Then you just say, fine, then 24-hour media blackout. You go to the second consequence and then you're taking something away. It's a negative deprivation. So you start with a positive action. You'd rather do that. If they choose not to do it, say, fine. Then we're going to go to the second consequence. 24-hour media blackout, whatever it is. You're taking something away. I'm going to talk about how to apologize. This is for older kids and for you adults too. No one seems to know how to apologize effectively. The word sorry is so overused. And it's like, I said I was sorry. You killed my whole family. And you know, like they'll kill the whole family in court and they'll go, sorry. And then you just still won't forgive them. Like, you're not very forgiving. It's like the word sorry. You can do anything, but if you say sorry afterwards, everything's good. It's ridiculous. The word sorry means squat to me. You can tell I've got some baggage with it, but it's so overused. And anyway, here's how you apologize effectively. I taught this to my kids. I did it with my kids, and I do it as an adult. If you do something wrong, you say sorry just to start the ball rolling. I don't really care about that. So there's 4 steps. Say you're sorry. The second one is take full accountability. Say, yeah, I messed up. I shouldn't have done that. So don't say, if you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have done it. Don't blame the other person for what you did wrong. So be fully accountable for what you did wrong. The third step is really important. Make amends. Say, what can I do to make it up to you? And then offer them something. Say, how about, like if I was running late for a movie or meeting a friend or something back in the day, and I was running late, I'd say, oh, sorry, I was late. I didn't judge traffic properly. How about I buy the popcorn tonight? And then the fourth step is don't keep doing it. Then that whole thing meant nothing. So yeah, how to apologize effectively, how to make amends, how to be responsible and accountable for your own actions. It's a good lesson for everybody. I think adults don't seem to know how to apologize effectively. I said I was sorry. I remember once this guy, this is a perfect example of this. This guy pulled out of the alley in driving, and I had my little dog. And then he changed his mind, and he quickly put his car in reverse. He was already turning down the road. And then he just zipped backwards fast, he changed his mind. He was going to go left instead of right. So he almost, if I didn't jump out of the way, he would have hit me, and he almost hit my little dog. My little dog was very old. I had to yank him, and he screeched because I yanked him out of the way, or else he would have been killed. So I picked up my dog, and I said to this guy, I said, you almost killed my dog and almost hit me. And he looked shocked. He didn't see us there. And his girlfriend saw it all happen, and she freaked out. She goes, oh my God. So this was interesting, though. He said, "Oh, sorry." And I said, "Do you know how close you came?" And he said to me, "I said I was sorry." Like as if, and I said, "You know what?" I said, "One word sorry does not make me feel any better. I'm allowed to vent what you just put me through." And you know what he did? He went, "You know, you're right. Vent away." And he took it. Like, wow, I was so impressed with that. Like normally people give you the finger and then drive off, right? Because no one's accountable anymore. They don't want to be accountable. Boy, if I did something like that to someone, I'd offer them something, I would just feel horrible. So, but yeah, talk about, that guy had a good head on his shoulders. Lousy driver though. But think about that. Do you apologize to your kids? Are you accountable? Because your kids are watching you. They're not listening to you. They're watching you. You're teaching them by example. That's why you're on that behavior board. If you make a mistake, you've got to make amends to your kids. You got a 2-year-old who's a runner. Okay, there's 4 things that children are born they're going to do or they're never going to do. It's just in your DNA. One is running, one is climbing, one is tantrums, and one is hitting. So it's not your fault they're doing that, but you've got to train them out of this. So for runners, I suggest you put a harness on them before you go out. And then as soon as they start to run, you go clip and you clip them into that leash and you say, "You do not run." You know that. And then you say, "You're going to stay on this leash for the rest of the outing." It's going to be one hell of an awful outing. So do some trial runs, places that you don't really care about going anyway. So yeah, they're going to have to learn not to run. It's a safety, life and death thing. You don't want someone grabbing them, and taking off with them, or you don't want them getting flattened by a bus. So think of it as a safety issue. So yeah. Okay, when in public do we give consequences or when back home? You do it back home. But if they're toddlers, you do it when you're out. Because under the age of 3, they're consistent corrective actions. They live in the present moment, right in the moment. So you have to do it right away. But with 3 and over, you say, "Oh, I didn't like that. We'll discuss it when we get home." "What are you going to do?" I said, "We'll discuss it when we get home." "Not fair. I want to know now." "If you keep bugging me, I'll make it worse." And then stop talking about it. So yeah, it's called delayed. It's called in the moment discipline, but delayed discipline. So what you're doing in the moment, you're addressing it, but you're delaying the punishment. So it gives them time to sweat and you time to think. But yeah, wait till you get home. Where can I find the behavior board? It's in the link. I only have one link up there that I know. I don't do my social media. And just click on the link. It'll turn up in there. And you have to wait about 30 minutes before it turns up in your inbox. I ignore people when they say, "I didn't get the behavior board." It takes about 30 minutes. So if you email me and say, "I didn't get the behavior board," and if you truly didn't after a whole day or something, then you're going to have to put in the subject line, "Really, I didn't." Like, I tried, I waited an hour. So yeah, it takes about a half hour. I've got like a third-party delivery system. Most people do. And whenever I get something late, like I'll sign up for something and I don't get something right away, I understand your frustration. Consequences for a 2-year-old, they're in the moment. They're consistent corrective actions right in the moment. There's no consequences. It's just consistent corrective actions. You remove the fun from them or remove them from the fun just for a few minutes. But you got to be consistent every single time. They learn through more of a knee-jerk reaction. They'll learn like the 50th or the 100th time you do it, because it's just, they don't think about it so much. They just stop themselves because it's happened enough. It's like a toddler, a 1 and a 2-year-old will touch a hot oven 10 times, but maybe not 11. Are they really thinking about it? No, they've just done it enough that they just tend to veer away from it. It's like that. I was just reading something on YouTube. It's just too long. And I would have to ask too many questions for that. So I don't even want to read it out loud. Sometimes I'll pass up questions because I'd have to ask too many questions to figure out what to say. Oh, can you discuss teens' behavior? Teens are my favorite age. It's what I specialize in. I'm going to read out my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. It used to be 3, but I added a 4th one. And it's number 3. I put it in number 3. Oh, I could switch it. I probably should, shouldn't I? Yeah, I switched it. So I added number 4. Okay. Now, teenagers are my favorite age. There's nothing wrong with teenagers. It's that parents don't adjust their parenting for teenagers. As soon as they do, you're on easy street with teenagers. Okay. Not all the time. It's a blanket statement that I just did. It's not always the way. But anyway, my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything, or as much as you can. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? It's called building respect, building reciprocity, give and take, right? Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? In other words, it's okay to do stupid stuff. We all do stupid stuff. Everybody, you do, I do, we all do, okay? Number 4 is don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. When I'm coaching, I teach parents how to connect with their teenagers. And I say, do not leverage that connection to discuss all the things they did to disappoint you. You wouldn't believe how many parents do that, even if I warn them not to. So they'll be out having coffee with their teenager, and they haven't ever done that with them. All of a sudden they're connecting, and then they say, you've disappointed me. So I'm so glad we're getting along now, because the last few years with you have been hell. You think they're ever going to talk to you again? You have to let it go. Let it go. Okay, that's my top 4 tips for parenting teens. Listen to understand, negotiate, don't sweat the small stuff, and don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad. How to make kids confident. Kids, okay, it's kind of tricky because they are influenced by other people out there in the world eventually. But when they come home, they tend to have confidence if you're a leader. And it also builds them up. If they have a leader at home, it builds them up to handle everything out in the world. But the world can be a scary, mean place, and it can still knock them flat as they get older, because home becomes less important when they're teenagers and when they're adults. Their own independent world becomes more important. They still love you, but they're on their own. They're out in the world. So yeah, things can really knock them down. All of us can be knocked down, especially when we're vulnerable. I'm very careful who I'm vulnerable around. I think we all are as you get older, especially. I mean, I'm nice to everyone, but I'm very careful who I get close to, because, it's a privilege, right? So yeah, you got to be very careful. But young people tend to throw themselves into situations and then get hurt a lot quicker. So it's kind of part of life. But if they have a lot of high self-esteem and they like themselves and they've got you, the safe place to land, they can usually ride out anything. But that's a blanket statement. I probably shouldn't say that, because there are still really tough things. I deal with teen crisis work. You can imagine what I deal with sometimes. So yeah, other people can really hurt your teenagers. They're highly sensitive, highly emotive, hormonal, all sorts of stuff is going on. Okay, I got to get going now. If you want to check out the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and coaching. I have a wait list for coaching, but you can look into it and send me a message if you'd like. Also, do you want me to change the time for these lives? I did a live yesterday. It was huge. And it was at noon my time. Usually I start these on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4:30. Do you want me to change one of them to 3 or 4 hours earlier? Let me know. You can send me a message. Not here. I don't look at the mess. I don't have time to look at my messages. Send me an email. If I get enough emails, I will change one of the days, just to make it a bit more interesting. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and happy parenting. Bye now.